Guys, we are here in a parking lot, and I'm holding a frozen Olight, so I think you know what we're doing here. We got the scooter right there ready for the scooter test, and today we are going to torture the Warrior Mini 2, because always when we come out with a brand new flashlight, we're gonna have to test it and see how rugged it really is. So to start it off, I actually froze this black Warrior Mini 2 in a solid chunk of ice, and it is hot outside, so it's starting to melt. So let's go ahead and break it out of the ice and see how it does. Oh yeah, that worked perfectly. It's turning on just fine. This thing is good to go, guys. Let's keep the torture test going. Now, the Warrior Mini 2 is rated for a 2-meter drop rating, but obviously we want to test it and see if it can do better than that. So I'm actually gonna throw it way higher in the air than 2 meters, and we're gonna see how it does when it drops on the pavement. This test will show you that if you drop yours when you get it, it will be just fine, even if it's from a very high distance. Well, there goes the clip. I'm not worried about the clip. Let's keep checking it out. It turns on just fine. Let's get some more drops. All right. Turns on just fine. Turns on. Good to go. Good to go. Actually left it on there. Let's keep it going. And turns on just fine. All right, so this does have a proximity sensor in it. So if you notice, when I put it right up to my hand and I click it on turbo, it's gonna lower in output. That's just the proximity sensor there in the front. That's a safety measure we put into this light. But when you see it get a little bit more dim when I put it up to my hand, that's what it's supposed to do. But this thing's doing really well on those drops. Only a few dings on the tail cap there. All right. And of course it turns on just fine. So any type of really high impact, it's gonna do really well. I don't think you're gonna be throwing your flashlight at pavement, but if you do, it'll still turn on. Keep going. Hopefully you can see how hard I'm hitting it. All right. I just hit it pretty hard, guys. Let's take a look at this thing. Yeah, that's pretty rough. There's some serious gashes in it. You can also see the dents in the body of the light. This is kind of smushed down from hitting the body. So that does impact the battery. Hopefully this thing turns on. We'll keep it tight. Oh, and we are good to go. That is awesome. Really glad to see how well this did with severe impact. I was beating the crap out of this thing, and it actually looks pretty good. Now it's time for my favorite test of them all, and that is the electric scooter test. And I brought out the big one today, and I'm trying to make sure there's low drag, so let's get as aerodynamic as possible. If the Warrior Mini 2 can survive being dragged around with a scooter, whatever you do to this light during normal life is probably gonna be okay, let's be honest, all right? So let's go ahead and drag this thing. Let's check this thing out. Look, look how bad that looks. That's incredible. I mean, especially right there. Look, you can even see how the material is worn down and actually thinner right here versus the rest of the tail cap. That's pretty incredible. Also, look at all of that wear on the head. And again, the head is dented up right there. The body's dented up from the hammer test. This thing is messed up. Here we go. Look at that. And it still works. Got the proximity sensor there. This thing is rocking and rolling. I'm really impressed with this Warrior Mini 2 so far. Let's keep going. Bye. Bring it on in. All right, guys, let's see how it did. Yes. Woo! Good to go! Okay. Wow. All right, let's, oh, look at that. Okay. All right, so if you didn't know if it was a glass lens or not, it definitely is, because look, I just shattered this thing. Let's see if I can maybe even try and get the lens out of the front bezel here. Let's see. Yeah, look at that, guys. Look how awesome that is. Here's part of the lens right there. And that completely came out. But check this out. Look how cool this light is. So it actually has a dual lens system. So that front lens shattered, but the back lens is actually okay. Check that out, guys. So it's a dual lens system. Very, very cool. And of course, it turns on just fine. So I really like how it has that dual lens. So basically it has that front lens to keep it extra safe. And then that secondary lens is where the proximity sensor is actually integrated into the front of the light. But we drilled a nice hole there in the side of it, broke that front lens, and still works just fine. So the Warrior Mini 2 is really awesome in the torture test, and guaranteed in regular everyday life, you're not gonna put it through this much damage, so it'll always be strong for you. Thank you guys so much for checking out this torture test on the Warrior Mini 2. It did just as well, if not better, than the original Warrior Mini. And it's really good to see that it actually has that dual lens system right there. So even if it's bad enough to where you crack that front lens, the lens behind it will still be okay. That's just that added rigidity that I'm looking for with an EDC light. Also, with the high impact, it did really well. It did really well dragging it around with some of the most severe road rash we've ever done. I'm just really impressed with this light and have full confidence carrying it with me on a daily basis. Definitely check these out and more at olightstore.com. The link is in the description of this video. And keep in mind, we also have an introductory sale on these starting on the 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.